Hello and welcome to Petrolheads London. I'm here with my new S1000R, which this video, I'm sorry, has taken so long to come, but man, I do love this bike. I wanted to take a quick first thoughts and kind of first look at the 1000R. This is the 2017 model, as you may know. There's only a few minor adjustments from the previous one. So the back frame is from last year's 1000RR. It's a little bit lighter, it's a tiny bit more powerful, so therefore in theory faster. And I just wanted to look at, like, you know, some of the, well, let's have a look round it. And for me, one of the things was also around choice of colours. Now, I didn't really like the red one. I think I might have said this in previous videos, so sorry if I'm repeating myself, but this year's colours are very different, and my preference was probably the white one in the previous versions, but this one, the red just looks stunning, the black and the red, and I almost see it more as well, it's a black and red bike, obviously, than it is red. And it looks so much better without those decals they used to have on the old one. In terms of other things we got here, as standard, it's the acro pipe, but obviously because this is Euro 4 compliant, it's, well, just probably not quite loud enough. So we're going to have a look at a couple of bits and pieces. So for me, I'm not quite at the run-in service yet, so this British weather hasn't really been as nice as I like, and although I'm not 100% a fair weather biker, let's face it, something like this you prefer to ride in great weather. So this pipe, it actually looks enormous when you kind of look at the, you know, well, when people talk about it, they keep saying it's enormous, and it is quite big. And actually maybe a new end can is on the list. I'm going to talk about some of the things I'd like to do. There's a few little things I can do already. Let's have a quick look round. Oh, end can. Baffles have got to come out. But let's have a quick look round it. Also coming up on this video, a quick flyby courtesy of Mr. RJ himself, has done a drone footage for me, so we can have a good look around this in his inimitable style. Let's have a look round. So first look, as you can see, it's not particularly different from last year's model. I think the back end's a little bit tighter. Do you know what? I've not sat them side by side, and I think we should probably do that, a comparison. If I obviously know somebody who has one, we can have a look at that. As I said, the exhaust can is quite big, but do you know what's interesting is actually before, this is all the cap down here. On the previous models, actually, that was a lot bigger. So even though it's Euro 4, it's not as big, but I reckon some straight through pipes on there would make things sound a lot better. One of the things I'm sort of looking at is whether we take out the baffles. As you can see, they're not removable that easily, but they should, well, we should be able to. Excuse me, it's a little bit dirty. I've not actually washed it yet since I've had it. First thing I've done, tail tidy. Man, they have these big things that hang over the back, so that looks a lot nicer already and was relatively straightforward to fit. Didn't go down the RNG route. I'm not a big fan of their stuff, I'm afraid. I have the, I think they call it sports screen on the front. Now, the one it comes with is about this big, so I think a screen is probably a bold term for it. But yeah, I quite like it with this one at the moment. I'm going to stick with this. I will probably try it with the smaller one on. That's the BMW one that it comes with. Mirrors, now I have, although I've always said I've mainly been sports bikes before I went down the GS route, I did have a street triple, and this is one of the things I changed. I had bar end mirrors on that actually, which looked really nice, because on theirs they were the same height as wing mirrors on cars, but these, it's only one choice on these, it's Rizomo mirrors, so they are actually on order and they will be coming soon. I'm not going to change any of the bodywork and stuff like that. I am going to get some protection strips around here, so sort of the equivalent to paint protection films. You can see it's going to get marked and stuff there, so I am a little bit worried about that. No plans to put a cowl on the back. I actually quite like it with the seat, although to be fair, on a bike like this, you're not really taking pillions. I just think it's an awesome looking bike, and not only does it look great, but man, this thing is just a pleasure to ride. It is, well, I think when I test rode it, I mean, I know I had problems with the audio then, and I made a lot of improvements in them, but I just loved it. It makes you smile, and I rode this back to back with the RR, and I loved it. It was just absolutely awesome. So we are going to have a proper look around this. One of the other things to change is levers. So these are pretty naff. I'm looking at some aftermarket options. There are the HP levers, but they are ridiculously expensive, and I think probably well, I've just bought a new bike, so probably a little bit out of budget at the moment. And then what else are we going to change? So levers, crash bungs, I'm undecided about that. I think I'm probably going to leave those for now. Some of the things that are new on this bike. So one of the things to point out, if I can get down here, is the quickshifter. So on last year's model it was up, I had to think about that, it was up only, and on this year's model it is up and down. If I'm honest, it does take a bit of getting used to, especially when not having really ridden with one. I've test ridden a few bikes with quickshifters on, but it is quite cool, and it does give you those sort of blap blap as it goes down, and it's yeah, auto blipping, which is really quite cool. And actually one thing I didn't mention is the exhaust does make some really nice pops and crackles, so I think if we can make some modifications to make it a little bit louder, I think it'd be pretty spot on. And to be honest, going down a gear, almost if you're like trying to find a gear to get good acceleration, which actually this is so torquey, you're usually in the right gear anyway, it does sort of clunk down a bit, and it's more for kind of slowing down into junctions, and it's less good for sort of going bang and sort of off you go. So I do tend to use the clutch a bit, but yeah, it's quite good, it's quite smooth. Gearbox is super smooth on this, the whole engine is just super smooth. I mean, I know I had a BMW before, and it's not I'm just a BMW fan, but I love this bike. I mean, I'm very lucky to have it, but it is a great bike. First of all, excuse me, I had a slight error of judgment. This thing here is actually for the sat nav, because I had one on my old GS. I decided to keep it. I've decided that's a ginormous error. There's a little BMW symbol in there, which is quite nice, and I think the bike just looks a hell of a lot nicer without it, and it's supposed to have a whole bracket. So this is going, don't worry, so don't give me comments about how I've ruined a lovely bike. So just zoom in here a little bit, have a look. So this is the dash. What's to say, compared to things like the GS, there are quite a few things that you don't get, but this isn't a touring bike. As you can see, I've not done many miles. There's my sort of average speed and my odometer and my range and stuff like that, but who looks at that? And then actually, if you go into here, you get a whole set of basically lap timers. If I'm honest, I don't really need that, and I would much prefer to have some of the other telemetry around the bike, tyre pressures, temperature, that kind of stuff that I had on the GS, which would be far more helpful to me. But one of the things I love about this bike is its unique styling, this kind of, well, it's been called many things, you know, unique styling, and it's not as harsh as things like the KTM 1290, which was referred to as like the baboon's arse, I think, by RJ, and also the MT10, which I am yet to test ride, but is to come soon, hopefully. The only downside is no LED lights, and all I can think is the reason for that is because of the weight of the transformers and stuff like that you have to have in order to do that. It's still a pretty cool looking bike. What do people think about having this on? I'm not sure it ruins the look. Some people think it does, having this bigger screen, and actually I could probably do with something a little bit bigger with a lip on it, and I know Wonderlich do one, so that's maybe in the running, but let's get some of the other bits and pieces sorted first. Well, thank you for watching this video. I hope you found this little first look at the S1000R useful. I am going to do some proper test rides on this, some proper reviews. It's not a million miles away from kind of where the, I think it's 2014-16 model was, and it feels very similar. There are some things I think I can do to this to make it feel a little bit nicer, but it's just got a great flickability to it and rideability, and as you can tell from the smile on my face, I'm so happy with this bike, and this is what I've been missing. I loved the other bike, and I know I shouldn't always make comparisons to what I used to have, but it would have been a great combo to have both. They would have been, you know, great for that. But this is the bike you're going to want when you get there. When I go to the Isle of Man for the TT, okay, it's harder work to ride there, but you can have fun, some twisties, and this is a great bike. I would say that because I bought it, but thank you for watching Petrolheads London. Please remember to like and subscribe. Cheers.